Hey everyone, it starts with plastic free. We're back for another episode. Corey, how are we going?
I'm good. I like this topic again.
I do like this topic, and we're passionate about it because you and I both love our food.
We do.
And we also love not wasting food and not wasting anything.
Very aligned on that.
Not that we're tight asses, but we are really aligned in that space.
I often see you eating old strawberries and stuff, which is great.
I do spray our Clean Life spray on to make sure there's no mould, but I'll keep everything to right. Then if I see a mouldy strawberry, I'll cut the mould off and eat the rest of it. But anyway, let's not go there. Talk about this, food waste.
So I think we want to just cover a few stats here around food waste, because when I read this stuff, it makes me almost motivated to reduce food waste just through the ridiculous waste in some of these stats.
Data and stats.
So let's just bang on for the next little while. I love it. This is all from earth.org, an interesting website. It just covers a lot of this sort of stuff. Food waste is one of their passions. A third of the food intended for human consumption is wasted or lost, enough to feed 3 billion people. Food waste and loss account for a third of greenhouse gas emissions annually, and if it was a country, it would be the third highest emitter of greenhouse gases.
So that stat there, like, it's mind-boggling. Because all the media attention about all the things that as humans we have in industry and making plastics and emitting carbon from all sources, yet no one talks about that stat there, that a third of greenhouse gas emissions is from food waste.
Correct.
And we're still in still in a world where there's so much poverty. So if I actually took that stat even further, there's a small portion of the global community that's contributing to that. So-called rich countries.
Well, that's an interesting part here. So 40% of food waste occurs in developing countries at the post-harvest and processing levels, while in developed countries, 40% occurs at the retail and consumer level. It's quite interesting as well.
So, okay, I've got a few thoughts on this, but I think there's more that you want to add to it.
So in the US, more than 50% of all produce thrown away is done so because it is deemed too ugly. I know that Woolies introduced, I think it was the Uglies, which was a great initiative. I don't know, I'd love to understand what the stat is in Australia on that, but that's just ridiculous. And
I find that strange because all this stuff about buying organic foods, etc. When I go to the farmers markets, for example, or the central market here in Adelaide, one of the things my wife and I are always looking for is the fruit that doesn't look perfect. That has the little sort of dent in it, and the apple that looks like it's got a freckle on it, etc. Because it looks like it's organic instead of something that's polished and looks like it just came out of a machine.
Yeah, spot on.
And yet we're talking about these foods that are deemed not suitable for retail.
Here we go. The food currently wasted in Europe could feed 300 million people in Africa. So putting that in perspective, I think Australia's population now is 25 million. So that's just the food waste from Europe. And here's another crack. This is a really interesting one. Annual per capita waste by consumers in Europe and North America, and I guess it would be very similar in Australia, if not higher, is between 95 to 115 kilograms a year
per person.
Per person. Whereas in Southeastern Asia, it's 11 kilos.
And that's where my thinking was. I go back to my roots as a kid, and even when I still go back to Europe at times, nothing was wasted. I can remember, there was always something, and I think this has been a growing issue with the wealth of the world, where we just throw shit out instead of actually using it. How much food could we use? I mean, I remember stale bread that was maybe, and we call it stale, a day old, would be broken up with tomatoes and basil and make a tomato salad in our household, and we still do that. What can we do with foods? There's so many homeless people and people that are struggling out there in a country like Australia that these stats, there's got to be someone that can actually redirect this towards a food source for some of the social communities that are really struggling out there. Kids that go to schools, I know Kickstart for Kids here in Adelaide is a big movement on that, but
But that last
so
one
much.
just amazes me. If you think, wow, as an average, our households throw away 10 times as much as they do in Southeastern Asia, it's like, we need to have a look in the mirror here and actually change the way we're purchasing so much food and throwing out so much food.
So what was that stat about the seafood you mentioned too?
That was interesting. In Europe, 40 to 60% of fish caught are discarded because they don't look
the part.
They're not the right. Yeah.
You know, but there has to be someone that would be able to take that, and I suppose that's where canned fish and all that sort of stuff. You could
feel some of that. But obviously not. It's being discarded. So
what is the takeaway for this? Like, what could we be doing? I mean, I think there was a link to.
We'll put a link up to
OzHarvest.
Really interesting site that has things like, hey, if you've got leftover this, and this, how you can transform it into various foods and
still eat safely.
Yeah, and certainly I'm on the back end of quite a few interesting soups at times that are from the leftover.
When you blend it, no one knows what's in it.
Exactly.
If it hasn't got mould on it, it's safe to go.
Yeah, and even another interesting stat here from OzHarvest: Aussies throw away 1 in 5 shopping bags per week of food that we purchase.
Yeah, look, that makes me sick to the stomach, actually, ironically, because the fact is, you know, we live in a lucky country, but there are a lot of people that aren't so lucky, and food waste is just abhorrent. You know, we talk about methane out of cows and etc., but that stat about 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions comes from food waste globally. This is something that really should be shouted out a lot more.
Should be. So yeah, jump on the OzHarvest website, I reckon. Have a look at some of those links on food recipes, and I reckon we should be averaging much closer to Southeastern Asia. 10% of what we're currently throwing away would be a fair goal.
Well, Corey, your job this week is to put one of your recipes of your soups together on what you do with some of the stuff that's a day old and give us a hint. I'm going to do the same, and we'll put it in the comments below and share it out there. And if you've got stuff that you think you can use with food instead of contributing to that food waste stat, show us, share it along, and teach kids about this one, because kids are learning about food all the time, and if they understand that they don't need to waste it and appreciate it more, we can cut out that stat for sure. Until next time on It Starts With Plastic Free, we'll see you then.